Hi, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Spurs Up Show. This is episode 23. We are going to be recapping the events that went on in College Station Saturday night. The Gamecocks pick up their second loss on the year, move to 3-2 as the Gamecocks lose to the Texas A&M Aggies 24-17. We're going to dive into that. But first, if you do want to follow the show, be sure to check us out on iTunes at the Spurs Up Show. Be sure to go there, rate, subscribe, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like about the show. We always appreciate all the feedback there. Also, follow us on our Twitter account at ArmchairSCar. That's going to be at ArmchairSCAR. Tweet us your questions, feedback. We love the interaction from all of our followers there as well. Also, follow us on Instagram at ArmchairSCarolina. And this is a podcast brought to you by the Armchair All-Americans, ArmchairAllAmericans.com. Localizing your sports coverage content. Be sure to go to ArmchairAllAmericans.com. You can find the show there as well as our South Carolina Gamecocks content, news, stories there, as well as all the other coverage on ArmchairAllAmericans.com. So we're going to dive in everything here. First, I want to go over some notable stats from the game, as we always do, breaking everything down. So the Gamecocks, again, lost to the Texas A&M Aggies Saturday night in College Station, 24-17. They were once again outgained. Texas A&M with 396 total offensive yards. South Carolina with 279 overall. Another game where the big story was on third down conversions. A&M went 7 of 16. South Carolina just 2 of 13 on third down Saturday night. The Gamecocks had a pretty solid afternoon passing the football. Jake Bentley, the passing offense, racked up 256 yards passing to A&M's 159. But on the ground, it was no contest. South Carolina was unable to get anything going with the patchwork offensive line. Just 23 yards rushing on the night. Meanwhile, Texas A&M ran for 237, which led to them holding the ball for 34 minutes and 7 seconds to South Carolina's 25 minutes and 53 seconds. Some individual standouts from both sides. Jake Bentley, again, like I said, 17 of 30 for 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a couple of big throws. Tyson Williams, actually, with the rushing stats being so porous due to all the sacks from the game, Tyson Williams quietly had another really solid game, 14 carries for 73 yards. The Smith boys, Shy and Ortre Smith, had big night. Shy Smith with 3 catches for 86 yards and a touchdown, including the long 45-yard touchdown from Jake Bentley. And Ortre Smith continues to improve, 3 catches for 28 yards and a touchdown catch as well. On the defensive side, a guy definitely note, Jamias Williams with a big night, 10 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. Probably had his best game as a Gamecock. On the A&M side, Kellen Mond, the young freshman quarterback, went 19 of 27, 159 yards, 16 carries for 95 yards, though, on the ground, and was able to wear down the Gamecocks defense late in the game. Keith Ford, 12 carries for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. Travion Williams, their other back, 16 carries for 56 yards and 1 touchdown. What was an evening where, like I said, A&M was just able to wear down the Gamecock defense and really expose South Carolina's running defense later in the game, and lack of depth there as well. So, with all that being said, we'll get right into it. Tyler, I know that we were talking kind of off the air before the show. There's a lot of mix of emotions, a lot of different feelings right now. I know I was texting you Saturday afternoon, and I was making up this, the script for the show, and I really wasn't even sure what to put here because I'm not even sure how I feel or how you feel. So I'm just going to let you talk about your initial reactions from Saturday night.
It's definitely a Kentucky feeling. You missed an opportunity. You had every chance in the game to win. And it's just a game where you lose the game instead of the other team beating you, if that makes sense. The stats when we were previewing the game last week, Texas A&M's offense looks a lot like what we wanted South Carolina's offense to be at the beginning of the year. It looks like that is exactly true. They had perfectly balanced passing, rushing, 256 and 237. I feel like that is the perfect offense. I would love to see that in the South Carolina offense, but we're just not seeing it. All of the stuff we're seeing about Kurt Roper, it's getting kind of annoying to see because I don't think they'll fire him mid-season. Definitely a large portion of the offensive struggles are his fault, but having 2 starting offensive linemen playing a game on the road against 100,000 people in the stands, it's tough to see. I thought the defense, played pretty well for the most part until they were just exhausted by the end of the game. So, an interesting point. I was listening to the radio earlier. If you would have told me, hey, we lose by 7, I've probably been okay with it until you actually watch the game and you see how disappointed you are at the end of the game.
Yeah, you make a great point there. I completely agree with everything that you said. Again, South Carolina, up 17-7. South Carolina goes, very, very conservative after the Ortre Smith touchdown in the third quarter. They finished the game off with 4 straight 3-and-outs. A&M was bringing the house, pinning their ears back. South Carolina kind of turned to trying to run the football, which is something they really haven't been able to do all year long. I definitely understand the struggles in the offensive line. You had Corey Helms out. You had Zach Bailey out at right tackle. Malik Young went down during the game. You had to slide DJ Park out to the outside there at tackle. So definitely like a makeshift offensive line. But, I completely agree with you. And I kind of wanted to save it till later in the show, but I'll just go ahead and get my 2 cents in it about the Kurt Roper situation. It's funny. We actually ran a Twitter poll question today on our Twitter. At this point in the season, should South Carolina fire Kurt Roper? And right now it's 200 total votes. 67% of the fans said yes, they should. I agree with you. They're not going to. I think it was more so. I just kind of want to get a feel on where everyone stands with Kurt Roper. It's just really inexcusable for where this offense is. You come in this season, everyone's hyping up, even the coaches, the players, everyone's hyping up this offense. There's some people trying to say even this could be the best offense South Carolina's ever had. They hadn't taken a snap. There was no proof of that at all. But with the pieces you had coming back, with the experienced Jake Bentley, all the weapons at wide receiver, all the weapons at running back, a solid offensive line group. And I mean, I know that Deebo Samuel's hurt. I know Zach Bailey's hurt, and Corey Helms wasn't playing, but it's just really a shame to have all these weapons and not be using them and not be letting these guys play to their fullest potential. Because I feel like that's what's really happening right now. Like I said, you go up 17-7, you're moving it on them all night. You're playing the worst pass defense in the SEC, and you just go conservative. And it's baffling week in and week out to see this offense putting up the numbers they're putting up, which are just terrible numbers. I mean, not even hitting 300 yards of total offense it's mind-blowing. It really, really is, to think about the weapons that this team has and their inability to execute. And I 100% agree with you, Tyler, and that, we talked about this. It starts at the top. It really does, with Kurt Roper calling the plays. I mean, I'm not going to put 100% of the blame on him because, like I said, it's a patchwork offensive line. I don't want to make light of that. A&M was able to expose that late in the game, but you have to make adjustments. And it seems like Kurt Roper, I've heard this expression a couple of times today and yesterday, but I think it stands true to this point. He has no feel of the game. I mean, when you're up 17-7, South Carolina had all the momentum, and you just hand it off at the middle twice, and then incomplete pass, third down, A&M gets the ball right back. And you almost had that feeling like this is about to go south. This A&M's about to steal this game back, and sure enough, they did. Again, like we mentioned, South Carolina was 2 of 13 on third downs. Early in the game, in the first quarter, again, South Carolina gets stuffed on the 3rd and 1. And the thing that baffled me about that, Tyler, I don't know if you remember the exact play, but they ran the exact same formation that they ran against Louisiana Tech. I mean, the predictability with the offense is what's so sickening to me. And it just, like I said, it seems like there's no creativity. I had a friend of mine actually today. He's a Buffalo Bills fan. He's a completely non-biased opinion. And he watched the game Saturday, and he just told me, you guys' offense just looks vanilla. And I mean, I completely agree. It's just a vanilla offense. There's no creativity. South Carolina doesn't have the athletes to just line up and say, hey, this is what we're doing. Dare you to stop us. They don't have an offensive lineman like Alabama. They don't have offensive linemen like probably Clemson right now, like Georgia. You have to be a little creative. Throw in a wrinkle. Do something. Switch up something. And it just seems like Kurt Roper lacks that ability. And, I tweeted it Saturday night. I said it Saturday night at the game, and I still stand by it today. Either Will Muschamp has to get rid of Kurt Roper. I know he's probably not going to do it right now, but he's either got to get rid of Kurt Roper. He's going to be let go again in another SEC head coaching spot and probably not ever get another chance, because we all knew this was the MO that, Will Muschamp, he's going to get the defense where it needs to be. He's going to have a great defense, but he can't win because of offense. And I know there's nobody more frustrated than Will Muschamp. That's actually the one thing I'm encouraged about, to think, hey, there actually might be a change, because I'm not sure if you saw Will Muschamp's post-game comments or any comments since the game, but I think he understands what the problem is. I mean, he made a couple comments saying, we have to have more production. We're not going to win games scoring 17 points. He made another comment saying the defense right now has to play perfect. And I think it's almost like he's saying that sort of sarcastic, like this is ridiculous. And I mean, I completely agree it is. So I agree with you. I don't think they're going to make any kind of like mid-season firing of Kurt Roper or anything. But, I mean, this team doesn't have an identity on offense. They don't have an offensive identity, which is it's mind-blowing. And I don't even know what they're trying to be. That's the worst part. It seems like Kurt Roper's so set on his system. It's like the great coaches, they adapt to the talent they have around them. It just doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like Kurt Roper's doing it, and there's no reason to believe it's going to change. I mean, it's been the same thing since last year and his last year at Florida with Muschamp. It's been the same thing. I understand last year kind of giving you a pass for – I mean, that team was kind of a train wreck. I mean, with Perry Orth, Brandon McElwain, and Jake Bentley's a true freshman. But it wasn't supposed to be the case this year, and it's just it's baffling every Saturday to watch this, and you expect a different result. And it's the same thing happening over and over and over. So that's my 2 cents on the Kurt Roper situation. I mean, I hope that Will Muschamp's willingness to win and be a winner at South Carolina is greater than his loyalty to Kurt Roper, because if it isn't, he won't be here much longer. I'm not saying I'm not saying Will Muschamp's job is at jeopardy at all, but you give it the rest of this season, you give it next year, you give it the year after. All I'm saying is if Will Muschamp doesn't wake up and realize what Kurt Roper's doing to his coaching career, his won't be very long, if that makes sense. I know I just kind of went off on a tangent there, Tyler. I've been holding that in since Saturday night. But I don't want to be completely negative, because we're going to talk more about Kurt Roper. We're going to talk more about the inability of this offense. I mean, it's unavoidable. But one thing I did want to touch on with the offense that I was really encouraged with is Shi Smith and Ortre Smith. We had talked about guys that need to step up in absence of Deebo Samuel, and these guys had a day. I mean, Shi Smith with that long touchdown pass when he got behind the defense, and Ortre Smith continues to improve. I mean, I'm really impressed with those two guys, and both freshmen. I'm really impressed with those guys, and excited that they're going to be in a Gamecock uniform for the next couple of years. So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. I actually thought Jake Bentley played one of his best games as a Gamecock, given, how much time he had to throw the ball. I've been super hard on him all season. And he didn't have the perfect start, but he hit one throw, I remember. It was kind of like an out post, like towards the sidelines, and he throws it over the safety by like a foot where he couldn't get it. I don't remember who the pass was to. I think it might have been Brian Edwards. It was literally a perfect pass. And I looked at the guys I was watching it with. I was like, there's the one throw he needs to get in his rhythm, and he got in a rhythm. So, the times he had time to make the throws, I thought that they were some of his best throws he's made.
Yeah, I mean, Jake Bentley, I thought by far played well enough to win the football game. Hayden Hurst got involved as well. He had, I believe it was 6 catches. Yeah, 6 catches for 76 yards. I mean, he had a really solid night. So it was really nice to see Hayden kind of get back in the swing of things. I think without a doubt, Tyson continues to impress. He had that long 35-yard run, which was a big league type run. I mean, the move he made of the line, the spin move. I mean, my question is, Tyler, what's going on with Rico Dowdle and AJ Turner? I mean, I understand that Tyson Williams is a really great player, and I kind of called. I don't want to take full credit. I feel like I kind of called this for the season. This could happen, but I mean, AJ Turner 1 carry for 0 yards, and Rico Dowdle 2 carries for -4 yards. I understand the blocking isn't very good, but man, I mean, Rico Dowdle looks like a shell of himself. I don't know if he's honestly goes back to the Roper. I don't know if he's being put in the best possible positions, because I feel like he's too good of a player to have these kind of numbers right now. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Rico, I mean, I've expressed how good I think Rico is, all year. But it seems like there's one running play in the entire offense, and there's two. There's one that 3rd and short, and then there's shotgun. Jake looks at the defense, takes 2 seconds and hands it off, and by then the whole defense is in the backfield. There's zero creativity in the running game. So, I mean, I think Tyson's better, straight at the middle between the tackles, try and find a hole. I think his game is, like, as well as A.J. Turner, they're just using their speed, to get to the edge and hopefully make that one cut. I don't think that Tyson's that kind of running back, and I think that's why the dumpster fire of an offense that South Carolina is right now. I think that's why Tyson's somewhat having some success.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And South Carolina did get good news on the offensive line side. All three of their guys are day-to-day right now. Zach Bailey, I think, is coming back a little bit quicker than they had imagined. Like I said, he's day-to-day. So may actually play this weekend against Arkansas. I would be precautionary with it, just make sure he's full strength. But it's at least good to hear those guys should be coming back pretty soon. Because that offensive line, I mean, they definitely struggled. Sedarius Hutchinson got pushed around a good bit. And they faced a great defensive line and a great front seven. But again, I just feel like with the offense, it was a situation, just because you got 3-0 down, you can't just quit calling ball plays, and you can't just say, oh well, they're rushing guys and our O-line's not very good, so I guess we'll just let Jake Bentley take a sack and we're just going to keep dropping back 5-step drops or slow, deliberate 3-step drops or plays that take forever to develop. What happened to the screen pass? What happened to the wide receiver screen? What happened to the draw? Anything to slow down a pass rush? What happened to all of that? Where did that go? I mean, it's
we haven't really seen it.
We haven't seen it at all.
Perfectly.
Yeah, we haven't seen it at all. What happened to the speed sweep? Where has that play been? I mean, I know Debo's out, but you tell me Shi Smith can't run a speed sweep?
That's what I'm saying.
It's mind-blowing.
We haven't seen a sweep since Hayden Hurst running touchdown inside the red zone against.
No,
there hasn't been one.
No, not a single one. I mean, to tell me it's not there is kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. Moving on to the defense quick before we go back into the offense and spend the whole show talking about that. I mean, I was as impressed with the defenses, I think, anyway. I mean, they're becoming the strength of this team. And I mean, there were a lot of people that stood out to me, Ori Jones on the defensive line, Sky Moore and TJ Brunson played well again. DJ Smith at the safety position played really well. Jamias Williams, like I mentioned earlier, he's coming into his own, playing great. I mean, South Carolina, one of the, the preview I wrote last week, I said that Christian Kirk was the key player for Texas A&M. He's kind of the game-breaking guy. He's the guy that A&M relies on to kind of give them a spark, make a big play. He was a non-factor. 4 catches for 13 yards. I mean, absolutely fantastic numbers. You held A&M in check for 3 full quarters. And I think it was a situation where this defense got gassed. I mean, they don't have the type of depth we obviously all know. I mean, it's the same guys playing in that secondary all night long. But and Will Muschamp and T-Rob, those guys have done a fantastic job of this defense. I was really, really impressed with what the defense showed on Saturday night.
Yeah, I was too. Yeah, they were able to stop A&M, with whatever they did. They had 0 success throwing the ball for 3 quarters. They had, moderate success running the ball. It seems like every quarterback has against us. But yeah, I thought that for 3 quarters while they were, what's the word I'm looking for?
While they were stymied?
While they had energy. There we go.
Right.
So like that. I mean, yeah, they played extremely well. Jamarcus King had a couple. There was, that 3rd and 18 where I don't know what receiver it was, hit a perfect pass on the sideline. Jamarcus had absolutely perfect coverage on the pass, and he just couldn't get his hand all the way across to make that play. But yeah, I feel like all this defense played well for 3 quarters, and then when you go 3 and out and get sacked 3 times, you're right back on the field again.
Yeah, I mean, 4 straight 3 and outs. That defense didn't have time to catch their breath. So I don't blame them at all. I thought the Gamecocks had a great defensive plan. And it's funny, the defense kind of is doing what opposite of what the offense is doing. They're taking lesser, I mean, I think South Carolina's defense has talent. Don't get me wrong, but they're really maximizing the most out of the talent they have on the defensive side. I mean, they're playing a guy like Jamias Williams is a true freshman. You got, this. I mean, the improvement from year one to year two for Muschamp's defense has been fantastic. And I wish the offense would sort of take a page out of that book and be able to maximize the talent they have. Touching really quickly before we get into some key takeaways from the game on the special teams, Parker White goes 1 for 2 on field goals. Had a just horrific miss early in the game. And it really didn't make a whole lot of sense, Tyler. I almost felt like South Carolina at one point was playing for the field goal, which it seems the most backwards thing. This kid, I mean, with all due respect, I know he made the game winner against Louisiana Tech, but I mean, he's not somebody you can really rely on at this point. And it just showed me that Saturday night that the kicker is just going to continue to be an issue. I mean, because like we talked about before, I mean, the ones Parker White misses, he doesn't just miss them. I mean, they're no doubt. I mean, the one he missed Saturday night was just a shank, really. So I'll ask you, Tyler. I mean, do you think Parker White's really the long-term answer for South Carolina kicker? Is there any answer right now?
I don't think there is an answer. I think you just got to deal with it. I guess the good thing about this game is that field goal didn't lose us the game. I mean, he lost us the game 100% against Kentucky, but I don't think that field goal would have played, that big of a difference in Saturday's game. I feel like Jake Bentley's fumble in the red zone completely was, a game changer that could have, put the game out of reach. I wouldn't look at Parker as, even a top 5 issue that we saw Saturday, but it's definitely a top 5 issue moving forward. I don't know if Alexander Wozniak is healthy again or not, but he's probably going to come back into the picture.
Yeah, I would find it hard to believe he won't, because I don't think Parker White's going to just somehow turn it around and, just turn into, Elliott Fry, for example. Okay, so pulling away from this game, not so much pulling away from the game, but after reflecting, sort of looking ahead, some of the takeaways from the game, Tyler. Gamecocks, like we said, started 2-0, 2 impressive wins against NC State and Missouri. You're now 3-2. And what I've been hearing a lot is, South Carolina fans, if you'd have told them before the season you'd be 3-2, a lot of fans would have taken it. But I don't think it's so much about what the record is. I think it's about how you got to this point, because you won a game, opening week that you really both first two you were underdogs in, even though Missouri, I don't know how you were underdog there, but you're underdog in both games. You win those, you come home with a huge blackout, you lay an egg against Kentucky. You probably should have lost Louisiana Tech. You win on just a last minute drive and made kick, and then you go to Texas A&M up 17-7, you go conservative and you lose there in a game that you probably should have won. So South Carolina's staring in the face right now. They could have been 5-0 with even any type of offense with a pulse. Gamecocks play Arkansas on Saturday, and we're going to get to that in our next show, obviously. But Tyler, what's your feelings at this point of the season? I mean, because I think, without getting too much into this coming weekend, Saturday is an absolute must win. I mean, if you go to 3-3, the wheels might start coming off this thing pretty quick. Where do you think South Carolina goes from here? I mean, what do you pull away from Texas A&M? What do you pull away from the first 5 games of the season? And I mean, how do you rebound?
Something's got to change. We've heard week after week that something's going to change, and literally nothing has changed. I mean, preseason, I keep referencing my preview article. I had us 3-2 this far, but I didn't think the 3-2 would look the way it has. We've been way more competitive than I thought we would, but we also, our offense is just way worse than I thought it would be. So, it's mixed feelings. I feel like some of the teams that South Carolina's played this far haven't been as strong as we thought they'd be. But, yeah, next week's a must-win, absolutely. But I still think it's a super winnable game, even if you have, moderate success on the offensive side. You've got to have something in the run game. And if they don't change some kind of, plan on offense, it could go really south from here.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Something's got to change. And I'll be really interested to see what we're recording this on a Monday night. I'll be really interested to see what Will Muschamp says in his weekly presser tomorrow. I don't know if he might just give the typical Muschamp answers and kind of one game at a time, kind of the coach speak, if you will. But I just got to have a feeling behind closed doors something's going on. I just, like I said, I think Will Muschamp he's a smart football coach. And the one thing I want to say is, Tyler, we've had this conversation before. I'm the kind of person. I get a little annoyed when people start trying to act like they're smarter than the coaches. As if you were that smart, you'd be getting paid to coach football and call offensive plays. But at some point, the fans and us, covering the teams, we have every right to question the offensive play calling, especially when the results aren't there. And I'll give you a couple stats here. South Carolina right now, Tyler, is 106th in the country in total offense, 336 yards per game. I mean, it's unreal. In 18 games with Roper as the offensive coordinator, South Carolina is averaging 21 points per game. And that's 48 total touchdowns in that 18-game span, which is last in the SEC. Just think about who's in the SEC. I mean, think about that. Think about that stat. How is that
less touchdowns than Ole Miss?
Less touchdowns than Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt, that's even worse. Yeah,
less touchdowns than Florida, who's incompetent on offense. With the playmakers you have, it can't happen. It really can't happen. And it's just, like we said before, it's maddening. It's maddening to think about, and there has to be a change. I don't know if that means a change in scheme. I don't know if that means giving Bobby Bentley the playbook. I don't know if that means giving Brian McClendon the playbook. I don't think you have to fire Kurt Roper, because from what I've heard about Kurt Roper, and I actually watched something on YouTube last week. It was they sat down with Roper after the South Carolina-Tennessee game, and they were it's the film session thing they do on SEC Network. And he was talking about the plays and breaking down the plays. The man knows what he's talking about. He knows football. I mean, he obviously knows football. He's seen a lot of football. He knows how to coach an offense, but I just think in the games, if you can't make adjustments and adjust to your personnel, you're never going to have a good offense ever. And Roper's never had one. So I guess, I'm kind of curious, Tyler, to ask you. My question to you is, what makes people think that this is going to change with Roper as the OC? I mean, what proof is there that this is going to change? Because he's never done it. I don't think Roper's ever had a good offense. I mean, what's telling South Carolina fans, or anyone for that matter, that this thing is just going to all of a sudden turn around and South Carolina is going to all of a sudden be the team we thought they'd be on offense? I just don't see it.
Yeah, I have no idea. A lot of times when an offensive coordinator is struggling, sometimes, they go down to the field. I don't know if Kurt Roper's ever done that in his entire career, but that would be super interesting. I feel like, you could communicate plays a lot easier. I don't know. He's definitely never had an offense that you just look at and go, wow, that's just explosive. It just doesn't seem like that way. But I don't think Bobby Bentley is the solution either. He coached high school football at Burns. Far cry from the SEC. But yeah, I don't understand. I do feel like Will Muschamp is one of those people. He holds everyone's entire staff. I mean, he's not just like, oh, Kurt, you prepared well. It just wasn't good enough. We'll get him next week. I think he's doing that. I think he's chewing it out in the locker room, or at least I hope he would be.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And like I said, I think that Will Muschamp knows that was his MO coming to South Carolina. And, if he can't score points, he's not going to have a job. I think he knows that more than anybody. So if it's frustrating anybody, I think it'd be frustrating Will Muschamp more than anybody else. And I think the thing that's got to be killing him is that he knows there's talent on the offensive side of the football. I mean, they go against him every day in practice. And I think the thing that frustrates him even more is that how good this defense, is playing, and they're still not winning. I mean, that to me is the craziest part, and the most upsetting part is that, I mean, we expected, Tyler, in the preseason that, I mean, these are going to be 41-38 games, 38-35. South Carolina's defense is going to really struggle in the first half of the year at least.
The two losses are giving up 23 and 24 points.
Yeah, the defense is the one carrying the team. I mean, where would South Carolina be right now with a bad defense? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's crazy to think. So yeah, I agree. I expect to see some change. There has to be some changes. I just you just can't come into this weekend against Arkansas and lay another 17 points on the board. I don't think you'll win do that. I think you're going to win a lot of games scoring that little. But yeah, like we said, sets up an absolute must win weekend. Like I said, I'm very impressed with the defense. They look great, look well coached. They're maximizing the talent, like they said. It's just something South Carolina's got to do on the offensive side, and it starts at the top. I mean, I was going to wait. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I think a little post show. Obviously, the SEC is struggling right now. The SEC had a bad weekend, and they're catching a lot of heat right now. For the reason is that the coaching is just not up to par in the conference. And I have to say, when you have the type of players you have on South Carolina's offense with Jake Bentley, Rico Dowdle, Tyson Williams, A.J. Turner, Debo Samuel, Brian Edwards, Ortre Smith, Hayden Hurst. I mean, does Casey Crosby have a catch yet? He doesn't have a catch, I don't think.
I know he doesn't.
How does a guy like that with that type of talent that had 4 touchdown catches last year not have a reception to this point? I mean, I'm just not going to buy the fact that, there just hasn't been a good time to get him on the field. Or this one. The defense, what the defense was showing us, the defense gave us this look, so there wasn't really a good time to get him on the field. No, man, that's just not good enough for me. I can't buy into that. So before this turns into the Chris ranting about Kurt Roper show, we're going to give out some game balls, even though with the loss, we still got some game balls to give out. I'll start first, Tyler. On offense, I'm going to give it to Shi Smith. I thought Shi was a guy who really needed to step up in the absence of Debo Samuel, and I think he can be like a Debo Samuel 2.0. He's kind of a smaller guy, really fast, has that same type of mold. He had a great game Saturday night. The big 45-yard touchdown catch when he got behind the defense. Had a couple really nice other catches. It was just nice to see him kind of get back in the mix. So Shi Smith, and then defense going to give it to a guy we didn't talk about too much, but Ulrich Jones. It was just nice to see Ulrich Jones get in the backfield. Got a sack on Saturday night. He had 3 tackles on the night, but the big tackle for loss as well. So I was really excited to see him get in there. He's a really good player, and I think that it's just a nice boost on that defensive line. A senior guy who Will Muschamp said in the preseason needed to step up. So I'm going to give my defensive game ball to Ulrich Jones.
Yeah, I'll give mine to Jake Bentley. Other than that. I'm not going to, understate the fumble. That's a huge play in the game. But other than that, I thought he played, it's definitely his best game away from home as a Gamecock. It looked like, he really stepped up to the plate and made good throws when he was capable. On defense, Jemias Williams was everywhere. Those speedy guys, current receivers, when they get the ball so fast, Jemias seemed like he was always the first one there, making open field tackles. That's one thing this defense has been tremendous at this year. When a guy's in space, they tackle. There was one. I think it was T.J. Brunson got in the middle, and he could have had a sack on Kellen Mond, and I thought that was the one that stood out, the tackle that wasn't made. That was a huge play in that fourth quarter. I thought other than that, they played fantastic. So yeah, those are mine too.
Yeah, I was really impressed too on the defense. I saw Brad Johnson and Aaron Sterling out there a couple times. You can tell those guys are going to be really good football players.
Every freshman, it seemed like that season has far outweighed anything we thought they'd have this year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can definitely see why Jemias Williams was a highly regarded player in the recruiting cycle. So, with that, we're going to move into some listener questions. We've got some interesting questions, a fair amount of questions. So we'll get right into those. So from Twitter, JWC2 and TLC, can the offense be salvaged this year? Or are we looking at our reality on that side of the ball? I guess saying that, are we looking that this is our reality on that side of the ball? Tyler, I'm going to start with you. I don't even know where to begin with this question.
I think it's both. I think it's going to be reality for the rest of the year, unfortunately. How much can you change schematically, to run plays in the middle of a season? We have that, but also I just feel like, they could be so much better. The talent is there 100%. Those young guys have stepped up and played 100%. But if you can't run the ball, then you're looking at your reality. 29 rushing yards is absolutely pathetic. I feel like any team in the country could have had 29 rushing yards against A&M Saturday. Literally any team in the country.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, South Carolina's got to run the ball, but I think what they've more so got to do than that is just they've. I agree with you. I don't think you can just completely change up schematically in the middle of a season, but they've got to be able to make adjustments. I mean, with all due respect, if A&M's taking the run away from you, they've got the 14th best pass defense in the league. Why do you need to run it? Just throw the ball. There's no shame in throwing it 40 times in a game, 50 times in a game. You've got a quarterback that can do it. Make them. I mean, was there a slant all night that A&M stopped? I mean, make them stop you. Don't try to reinvent the wheel and be creative. If they're giving the play up, just keep taking it. I don't understand. That was the thing that baffled me as well, is like, if the run's not there, which you have 3 O linemen out, it's probably not going to be, and they have the 14th worst pass defense, why would you stop going to the well? Why stop doing what's working? So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this offense can be salvaged because I don't have any proof that Kurt Roper is going to wise up and do anything and change anything up. I mean, I want to believe it. I just feel like this offense has too much talent. And I mean, Tyler, if they do get anything resembling of a running game with Tyson Williams, this offense should be really good. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. This one came from Twitter as well. It's actually from one of our armchair All-Americans writers, actually our Tennessee writer, Luke Owenby. When is enough for Kurt Roper calling the offense? Now actually would be good. But we've kind of touched on that one.
I think Luke should worry about his own situation.
I think I'd rather wake up in Columbia than Rocky Top this week.
I'll take Kurt Roper over Butch Jones gladly.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. On Twitter, Firemanship, I second Luke's question and raise it's the same excuse it seems every week. When and how are we going to correct it? We kind of already went into that. From Reddit, this question comes from Motherfuggin. So nice username there. This with 2 G's, by the way. Just want to let everybody know I didn't actually say it. Couple of questions. We'll kind of run through these. See, I'll probably people on 107.5 call-ins have been crucifying Rope for the play calling and not being creative enough. How creative can you really expect to be as far as in-game adjustments go when we're missing 3 stars on O-line? Skill positions are dominated by underclassmen. I think a lot of Gamecocks would agree that it's not that we lost, it's how we lost. Giving up the fourth quarter lead to lose is awful. Believe me, I know as a native Atlanta and Falcons fan, but I'm listening while I'm at work and on the way to work this morning. And with all the doom and gloom, you think we were favored by a touchdown or something? Do y'all think some losses are worse than others? And even further down the rabbit hole, are some losses better for your psyche than some wins? Because let me tell you, even though the Gamecocks blew that lead, I feel better coming out of a loss at College Station than I did after beating La Tech at home last week.
Huh.
That's a long question.
Yeah, I never thought about that. When you were reading it, do some losses feel better than some wins? And I was like, absolutely not. And then you read the last sentence. I was like, wow, it actually does.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact of, like you said, it's how South Carolina lost, and it's how they're losing more than anything. I mean,
games that should be won 100%.
Right.
Like, there's no reason that South Carolina should have lost either of those games.
It's kind of like you say, not all 6-6, 7-5, 8-4 seasons. They're not all made the same. They're just not all made the same. And this 3-2 record South Carolina has, if South Carolina would have lost NC State and struggled to beat Missouri and beat Kentucky, if you switch some things around a little bit, I think South Carolina fans are like, hey, we're in a solid start, we're whatever. But it's the way it's happened. 3 straight games of just an inept offense, unable to do anything. I think that's what has South Carolina fans extremely frustrated. I mean, me personally, Tyler, it never feels better to lose than to win, because even against Louisiana Tech, as frustrated as I was, when South Carolina won, I was like, hey, South Carolina won. We're 3-1. Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it after losing to Kentucky. But, I mean, I see what you're saying, I guess moral victories, if you will, but I don't know that you can really believe in moral victories right now, especially when you blew a 10-point lead. On Reddit, this comes from KP Coop. Is there any hope for Parker White, or is our kicking game or our kicking game in general, the punts this week were embarrassing? I thought the punting wasn't that bad. I mean, I
No, I
looked at
thought the
Joseph.
punts were actually pretty good.
Yeah, I looked at Charleston's average. I think it was like 45 yards. So, is there any hope for Parker White? I mean, yes, I think there's hope for Parker White. I mean, the kid obviously has a strong leg, but
they all have the
I
length. They're just off by 20 yards.
I don't know how you can be that bad at kicking. How can you be on scholarship and be that bad in a game? I mean, you think it's like a nerves thing?
I think it's 100% a nerves thing. It's such a mental thing. It's like pitching. It's hard to you walk two guys and you got to convince yourself you're good enough to throw 3 strikes and get the dude out.
Right. I mean, yeah. So I was going to compare it. Yeah, the pitching are like golf, and you just kind of start get the shanks, and it's just you just can't get rid of them. But man, it just like I said, it's not even that they're missing kicks. It's just the way, like how bad the misses are. I mean, after you missed the first one, I literally put on our Twitter account. I was like, "Don't ever kick again. Don't ever kick again." And
how are you going to get the offensive yards to cover up for on third down? You're 2 and 13 on third down. What makes you think they're going to get a fourth down?
Yeah, exactly. And then Parker White comes back and makes one. So I was like, well, screw me, right? But that's going to wrap it up actually with the listener questions, and pretty much going to wrap us up as well. A little post show because I touched on it earlier. Tyler, the SEC is a mess.
Garbage.
Troy beats LSU at home, at night in Tiger Stadium on homecoming. We'll go. Florida beats Vandy in a 14-point win, but then Tennessee gets absolutely obliterated by Georgia, 41-0. My question is, it's Monday night at 10 o'clock. How does Butch Jones still have a job? I mean,
no idea.
How? I just don't understand.
No idea.
I mean, when pull the trigger. I don't know what else does he have to do.
I'm so glad this podcast exists because I'm on record for saying how bad Tennessee was going to be going into this year. And dang it, I was right.
Yeah, they're terrible. I mean, they're awful.
As bad as South Carolina is right now, there are so many teams in the SEC that are in worse situations than we are.
It's like depressing to watch, honestly. I mean, it's depressing because to me, it's just like, man, like just imagine if South Carolina was good. Like you could just take advantage of all this. I mean, imagine if you had the 2010 through 2013 teams playing in this SEC right now.
They go undefeated if they didn't have to play Alabama or Georgia, I guess.
Yeah, it'd be South Carolina, Georgia for the East every year. I mean,
Georgia is spectacular. I also predicted that. I mean, that wasn't as much of a prediction as an observation, but man, they're good.
Yeah, Georgia's a machine right now. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. With I know Jake Fromm's playing well, but Jacob Eason's getting back healthy, and
you got to play Eason.
I think kind of so too, because I'm not sure when you play a team like Alabama. I mean, Jake Fromm's going to have to throw the ball, and I mean, it'll be interesting. I think they're going to have to play Eason as well and kind of see what they've got from him and see where he's at. But that ought to be fun to watch in Athens. And then the team we won't mention from the upstate got another huge win. Just they keep rolling. So
they're so good. Yeah, I'm to the point where I don't care anymore. I'll just talk about how good they are.
Well, it's been so nice because South Carolina. It's been so nice because South Carolina and Clemson have been playing at the same time. So I haven't watched a Clemson game yet.
I've watched a couple of them. For having two teams.
I'm kind of pretending like they don't exist.
Yeah,
so
they are super good. That's the best defense I've seen in several years.
Yeah, let's worry about that one in November.
All right, I will.
But that's pretty much going to wrap us up. Again, if you want to follow us, go to iTunes at the Spurs Up Show. We'll be there. Rate and subscribe, like I said. Follow us on Twitter at ArmchairSCar. That's at ArmchairSCAR. Again, there on Instagram at ArmchairSCarolina. And be sure to check us out on armchairamericans.com for all the latest breaking Gamecock news and coverage. Also, again, the South Carolina Gamecocks do play a home game against Arkansas this Saturday. Be sure to tweet at ArmchairSCar with the hashtag Take a Seat with all your game day videos, anything from before the game, in the stadium, crowd reactions, cool plays, just anything to show your Gamecock spirit on game day. Tweet that to us. We're going to be giving away prizes all season long. So with that being said, Tyler, obviously we had a lot to say about the A&M game. I'll ask you, you have any last words, anything you want to say before we close the book on A&M?
We suck.
Yeah, I don't want to be one of these people jumping on a fire coach bandwagon, but something's got to change. That's all I'll say to end it.
All right.
So with that being said, as always, again, I'm your host, Chris Phillips. He's Tyler Clark. We appreciate you guys listening. We'll catch you later this week to preview the Arkansas Razorbacks. Have a good night, everybody.